What is a successful parliament? It's a question many parliamentarians and political scientists are debating. I want to start answering this question today by referring to one of the members of the UK House of Lords and a leading international scholar on parliamentarism, Lord Norton, who has said, "Public expectations of Parliament's legislative success have evolved substantially, from getting laws on the statute book to ensuring that laws are brought into effect and their implementation has an impact." My name is Franklin de Vrieze. I'm the Senior Governance Advisor at the Westminster Foundation for Democracy. And over the past couple of years, I have worked a lot on legislative impact assessments by parliaments. And I would like to start this introduction from the moment a piece of legislation has been voted in Parliament. MPs expect the law to be implemented. MPs assume the law will be implemented as intended. And MPs hope the law will have visible impact. However, expectations, assumptions and hopes don't always come true. So what we are saying is that Parliament has a responsibility to monitor that legislation is implemented as intended and has the expected effects. And that is what we call post-legislative scrutiny. So what is post-legislative scrutiny? It is part of the oversight role of Parliament, and it looks at the enactment of the law, whether the legal provisions of legislation have been brought into force. And secondly, it also looks at the impact of the legislation, whether the intended policy objectives have been met and in which way. Now, how do parliaments conduct post-legislative scrutiny? We see that parliaments at various stages of their institutional development have undertaken post-legislative scrutiny successfully. So both established parliaments as well as parliaments in newly democratic countries, they do apply post-legislative scrutiny. So it is undertaken in a wide variety of ways. There are different ways of doing it. So the critical question for any parliament is not whether to undertake post-legislative scrutiny, but how. And one of the countries with an established practice of post-legislative scrutiny is the United Kingdom. And so here we have a post-legislative scrutiny report. It's a report of the House of Lords PLS Committee on the Licensing Act. And this report has very extensive findings and recommendations. Now, what is specific to the UK is that the government provides a response to this PLS report. So this report is not just for the archives, but it does get a response. And so this is the government's response to this PLS report, to the specific recommendations, and the government explains whether it agrees, disagrees, or partially agrees with the recommendations and why. The Westminster Foundation for Democracy is working in over 30 countries around the globe, and in many national parliaments, WFD assists parliaments in conducting post-legislative scrutiny through pilot projects, through legal advice and comparative research. As WFD, we have launched a parliamentary methodology for conducting PLS, and we are currently spearheading programs for gender-sensitive post-legislative scrutiny, so making sure that post-legislative scrutiny captures how legislation impacts women and men differently. And we are also focusing on climate-proof post-legislative scrutiny, so assessing how implementation of legislation affects the climate and the environment. So in this way, post-legislative scrutiny can contribute to improved governance, better service delivery for citizens, and stronger democracy.